at manual scavenging. So what is the context? So the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has launched Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge, which is aiming at ending manual scavenging by 2021. First of all, we need to know what manual scavenging is. So it is defined as the practice of manually cleaning of human excreta from dry latrines. So when we say manually cleaning, a person is entering into the dry latrines or the sewage, and with his hands he is cleaning the human excreta. So the scavengers crawl into the dry latrines and collect the human excreta, and as a head load they will carry it to containers and it will be disposed of later. Now you must be thinking, what is dry latrine? Many of you might not be very familiar with that term. So a perfect example would be a scene in the movie Slumdog Millionaire where a boy falls into a pit. So that scene at dry latrine is properly shown. So basically service or dry latrine is a type of toilet where there is no water. It is waterless and from which human excrement is collected from buckets and then it is disposed of later. So what does the data say? A recent government survey conducted in 170 districts and 18 states identified that about 54,130 people is engaged in manual scavenging. Apart from this, the data collected by SKA is a civil society which is aimed at stopping caste-based occupation. So according to their data, there are 1,870 sewer deaths reported in India from 1993 to 2019. Now, let's come back to the government program, Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge. So what is this about? So the mission is to prevent any loss of life in hazardous cleaning of sewers and septic tanks. And for this, what they are going to do is that sewers and septic tanks in 243 cities will be mechanized. So when we say mechanized, there will be a vehicle like this, and there will be a proper technological devices kept in this in order to clean it. That means the people does not have to enter the sewage. The machine can be used to get to clean the sewers. So that is what this so related to this, there is going to be a challenge, and the cities which are going to take part in this and initiate this, they are going to have an end result and they will receive a prize money. So connected to this, there will be a helpline created. I mean, if there is any incident of manual scavenging happening, then those complaints can be registered in this helpline. And also this measure is a part of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Clean India initiative, and yes, that's it about this challenge. So what are the measures taken so far by the Indian government in order to deal with manual scavenging? So firstly, constitutional and legal institutional measures. So in Indian constitution, I mean, if you have read it, the fundamental rights, Article 17 abolishes untouchability. So that's what the first thing is about. And also the Protection of Civil Rights Act. This is an act which was made in 1995, which prohibits compelling anyone to practice manual scavenging. So by law, manual scavenging is not permitted. And not just that, even dry latrines, the employment of manual scavengers and construction of dry latrines, this act declares the employment of manual scavengers and even the construction of dry toilets to be punishable with fines and imprisonment. So this is clearly illegal. Apart from that, we have the prohibition of employment as manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act, and then we have National Safai Karmacharis Finance and Development Corporation established in 1997 to look into the matters, to monitor implementation of programs and extend financial assistance. So there are enough laws in order to deal with this. And apart from that, we also have sanitation schemes. We have integrated development of small and medium towns scheme. Then we have total sanitation campaign, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is there, which is very popular since 2014. And then we have other rehabilitation schemes. We have National Scheme of Liberation of Scavengers and the Dependents, Scheme for Self-Employment for Rehabilitation for Manual Scavengers, which is revised in 2013. Then we have civil society and other initiatives too in the country. So Safai Karmachari Andolan. In the previous slide I have shown you that they made the data, they collected the data. So this is actually a nationwide movement to completely eradicate the caste-based occupational and rally for the rehabilitation of scavengers towards dignified livelihoods. So when we say caste-based, we know that in our country we still have we are still living in a country where the society caste system is very rigid. So we know that how caste system is practiced, right? A kind of occupation is forced on this caste people, and they are supposed. That's what we had in ancient India. Even now, caste system is prevailing, and people who are who are in those castes are expected to do this work. And apart from that, when there is no proper other opportunities, no proper education, they are forced into this labor. So in 2002, Rashtriya Gramin Abhiyan, a coalition of 30 community-based organizations from 13 states, started a campaign to encourage manual scavengers to voluntarily leave the practice. So these are the civil society and other initiatives that is against manual scavenging. Now, why manual scavenging still persists in India? This is one question that we have to look into. So firstly, continued presence of insanitary latrines. Now if you have listened to this, I have already told you that according to this act, having dry latrines is illegal. But even then, what we have is 2.6 million insanitary latrines which is still functioning inside the country. Apart from that, we have poor infrastructure, and apart from that, even if there is mechanized system in order to clean these sewages and latrines, still due to engineering defects in septic tanks, machines might not be able to do that. In that case, these manual scavengers have to be let in. But even in that case, you can see that actually proper gears, proper safety equipments are not given to these people. Now, social perception, as I've said before, caste system is very rigid in our country even now. Even now, if you look at the newspapers, you can see caste-based discrimination, caste-based violence, everything is very prominent. So similarly, caste-based occupation tag is even prominent now. Now, it is a caste-based and hereditary profession and defined as a cultural occupation attached to lower caste. And manual scavengers come from among Dalits because of lack of opportunity and because of a lack of education. They are forced into this because of poverty, and as they have this occupation attached to their caste, they are without any other way, they are forced into this labor. Now, apart from that, loopholes in the legal protection. Now, the 2013 Act that I have mentioned before has a loophole. You see that it is mentioned that workers has to be provided with protective gear and other cleaning devices. Now, in this case, even though this has to be given in this law, it does not define what the protective gear is. So when such laws are made with vague provisions, that becomes a loophole. Now, challenges and risks. What are the challenges that we have ahead of us when we are trying to deal with manual scavenging? Firstly, occupational and environmental health and safety. Now, we know that these people are going to be, going to enter sewages without any proper protective gear, and what is going to happen? They are exposed to hazardous gases and biological and chemical agents in septic tanks, sewers, pumping stations and treatment plants. And they are working without any formal personal protective equipment, without proper training. So in this case, what is going to happen? They are going to catch diseases. Okay, they are going to have health crisis. So apart from that, we have legal challenges, informal nature of work. So when since this work is not in the formal sector, so all the regulations, all the laws might not be able to be initiated in the ground properly. So because it's informal nature, weak legal protection and lack of enforcement of existing rules. And then social challenges. Low-grade, unskilled sanitation workers often face social stigma. They are facing social stigma and discrimination. Apart from caste discrimination, because they are doing this work, they are again facing discrimination. Now, sanitation is linked to a caste-based structure. As I mentioned before, the caste is also meddling with this. Now, exposure to diseases. See, human feces and urine are good carriers of hepatitis A, pinworms, rotavirus, and E. coli. exposing the workers to diseases, very serious diseases like cholera, hepatitis, typhoid, tuberculosis, etc. Now what can we do? What is the way forward? First, we need reform policies, we need proper legislations, and we need proper regulations that acknowledges and professionalizes this. We need to recognize all types of sanitation work and provide the frameworks that enable the organization. We need empowerment of sanitation workers. There should be unions formed for them. They should be able to vocalize themselves, and they should amplify workers' voices. Now promote the gradual formalization, proper formalization, so that every reforms, every frames, regulations are going to be practiced. It is going to work on the ground. Now apart from this, what do we need? Mechanization of the work, so that people does not have to, so that these workers does not have to manually enter into the sewage, and articulate protection mechanism covering measures such as personal protective equipment. Proper equipment has to be given, safety equipment, and training should be there. Regular health checks should be there. Just think about this. So when our soldiers are going into war, will any government send them without bulletproof or guns? So similar to that, when sanitation workers are going to deal with such dangerous environment, they have to be given proper protective equipment. They have to be given proper kind of training and health checks and insurance and treatment of workers. The government is supposed to do this. So after that, adoption of technology. Yes, with technology we can come over this. Now there are good examples regarding this. Now Hyderabad Metropolitan Water Supply and Sewage Board is using 70 mini jetting machines that can access narrow lanes and smaller colonies to clear the choked sewer pipes. And in Thiruvananthapuram, in Kerala, a group of engineers has designed a spider-shaped robot called Bandicoot, and this robot is going to clean the sewers with proper precision. So by implementing this, by having a proper reform policy, by having proper regulation, and empowering the workers and providing proper equipments, proper training, and with technology we can overcome this problem, and the government can take better care of our people. So I'll conclude with that. Thank you.